The INFJ is quietly irresistible because their power is not designed to announce itself. It unfolds slowly, almost invisibly, and by the time people realize what pulled them in, they are already deeply affected. INFJ magnetism does not rely on being loud or dominant. It rests on depth, intentional presence, and a unique ability to see beneath surfaces without forcing exposure. Their appeal works on the nervous system first, not the ego. One of the strongest sources of the INFJ's quiet irresistibility is their rare combination of emotional attunement and psychological distance. They are fully present, yet not intrusive. When an INFJ listens, they are not waiting to speak, correct, impress, or redirect. They are mapping the internal world of the other person with precision. People unconsciously register this as safety. In a world where most interactions are transactional or distracted, being truly seen without being consumed is intoxicating. The INFJ creates a space where other people can lower their defenses while still retaining dignity and control. That balance is extremely rare. INFJs have an almost surgical way of understanding people. They do not simply notice what someone says or does. They sense the motive behind it, the emotional context around it, and the unspoken fear or desire driving it. This gives their responses an accuracy that feels uncanny. When an INFJ speaks, people often feel as if something inside them has been named for the first time. This is not because INFJs are trying to be insightful, but because their mind naturally tracks patterns of meaning, contradiction, and emotional logic. Being understood at that level creates a bond stronger than attraction alone. Their restraint amplifies their presence. INFJs rarely overshare, posture for attention, or flood conversations with unnecessary information. This creates a psychological gravity. Humans are drawn to what is not immediately accessible. INFJs reveal themselves selectively, and every disclosure feels intentional. This controlled openness signals depth, maturity, and self-possession. People sense there is more beneath the surface, and curiosity naturally follows. Silence, in an INFJ, is not emptiness. It is density. INFJs are also quietly irresistible because their values are lived, not advertised. They do not need to announce their integrity, compassion, or ideals. These qualities show up in small, consistent ways. How they treat people who cannot offer them anything. How they respond under pressure. How they hold boundaries without cruelty. This creates trust over time. People may not be able to articulate why they feel grounded around an INFJ, but they feel it. Consistency between inner values and outer behavior is deeply attractive, especially in a culture saturated with contradiction. There's also an intensity to INFJs that is easy to miss at first and impossible to ignore later. Their inner world is rich, focused, and emotionally charged, but it is tightly regulated. When an INFJ chooses to engage deeply, the shift is palpable. Their eye contact sharpens. Their language becomes precise. Their emotional presence becomes unmistakable. This controlled intensity creates a powerful contrast with their usual calm, making moments of connection feel significant and memorable rather than routine. INFJs possess a natural authority that does not rely on dominance. It comes from clarity. They tend to know what matters to them, even if they're still refining how to express it. This inner alignment gives them a quiet confidence that others sense instinctively. They are not easily swayed by trends, peer pressure, or superficial validation. This independence of mind is compelling because it signals stability. People trust those who are anchored within themselves. Another reason INFJs are so compelling is their ability to hold complexity without judgment. They understand that people are not purely good or bad, strong or weak, healed or broken. They see contradictions as human rather than flawed. This allows others to feel accepted without being excused and challenged without being shamed. The INFJ does not rush to fix, but they also do not indulge self-deception. That combination creates growth-oriented intimacy, which is far more powerful than comfort alone. INFJs also communicate with layered meaning. Their words often carry emotional, symbolic, and psychological weight at the same time. Conversations with them linger in the mind long after they end. This is because INFJs speak from synthesis rather than reaction. They connect ideas, emotions, and values into cohesive insight. People leave interactions with INFJs feeling expanded, as if something subtle has shifted in their perspective. INFJs are private because their inner life is sacred to them, not because they are trying to appear elusive. This authenticity makes their mystery trustworthy. People are drawn to uncovering depth when they sense it is real, not manufactured. INFJs do not reveal everything, but what they do reveal feels genuine and considered. This creates emotional gravity rather than frustration. INFJs are quietly irresistible because they bring meaning into spaces that often lack it. They remind people, without preaching, that depth exists, that intention matters, and that connection can be profound rather than loud. Their presence slows things down. It invites reflection. It makes others feel more themselves, not more impressive. Another reason why they're irresistible has to do with their relationship with time. INFJs are not rushed internally, even when circumstances demand urgency. They think in long arcs rather than short bursts. This gives them a patience that feels stabilizing to others. People sense that the INFJ is not merely reacting to the moment, but understands how the moment fits into a larger narrative. This long-range awareness makes their advice, decisions, and emotional responses feel unusually grounded. Being around someone who is not enslaved to immediacy creates a subtle sense of trust and calm, which many people unconsciously crave. INFJs also possess a rare emotional containment. They feel deeply, but they do not leak emotions chaotically into their environment. Their inner intensity is held rather than broadcast. This makes them feel emotionally mature and safe to be around. People instinctively know that an INFJ can hold difficult conversations, complex emotions, and uncomfortable truths without collapsing or becoming cruel. This capacity creates a gravitational pull, especially for those who feel overwhelmed by their own emotions or by emotionally volatile environments. There is something profoundly attractive about the INFJ's moral clarity. While they are empathetic and nuanced, they are not morally vague. They know where they stand on issues that matter to them, and they rarely betray those convictions for convenience. This creates an inner solidity that others feel immediately. In a world where many people shift values depending on audience or advantage, the INFJ's ethical consistency feels rare and reassuring. Even those who disagree with an INFJ often respect them, because their stance is rooted in reflection rather than impulse. INFJs are quietly irresistible because they make people feel chosen, not consumed. When an INFJ invests attention, it is focused and intentional. They do not scatter their energy indiscriminately. This selective engagement gives their presence weight. People sense that the INFJ's time and emotional energy are valuable resources, and being invited into that inner circle feels meaningful rather than casual. This creates a deep sense of significance without manipulation. Their ability to articulate emotional truth without dramatizing it is another understated source of attraction. INFJs can speak about pain, longing, fear, or hope in a way that is honest but not performative. They neither minimize emotional reality nor exaggerate it for effect. This balanced emotional language helps others process their own inner experiences more clearly. Conversations with INFJs often feel clarifying rather than overwhelming, which makes people want to return to them again and again. INFJs also have a unique way of inspiring personal growth without positioning themselves above others. They rarely lecture. Instead, they ask questions that reframe perspectives, offer insights that invite reflection, and model the behaviors they value. People often find themselves wanting to become better versions of themselves around an INFJ, not because they feel judged, but because they feel understood and challenged simultaneously. This kind of influence is subtle, ethical, and deeply compelling. Their discomfort with superficiality also enhances their allure. INFJs are polite in shallow spaces, but they do not linger there emotionally. They are oriented toward meaning, purpose, and authenticity. This makes interactions with them feel intentional rather than habitual. People sense that the INFJ is not just passing time, and this makes time spent with them feel more valuable. Depth becomes the default expectation, which quietly filters interactions toward substance. INFJs are also resistant to emotional coercion. They are difficult to pressure, guilt, or manipulate once their intuition has registered misalignment. This self-protective discernment adds to their mystique. People recognize, often subconsciously, that the INFJ's loyalty cannot be forced or bought. It must be earned through authenticity and respect. This raises the emotional standard around them, which paradoxically makes them more desirable rather than less. Another overlooked element of the INFJ's quiet irresistibility is their reverence for the inner lives of others. They treat people's thoughts, feelings, and stories as something sacred rather than exploitable. This ethical handling of intimacy makes others feel emotionally safe long after the interaction ends. People remember how an INFJ made them feel respected, not just understood. INFJs also carry a subtle sense of purpose that permeates their presence. Even when they're unsure of the exact path, they often feel oriented towards something meaningful beyond themselves. This purpose-driven energy gives them a quiet gravity. Humans are drawn to those who seem aligned with something larger than ego, because it suggests depth, direction, and integrity. INFJs are also irresistible because they do not fragment themselves to belong. They may adapt socially, but they do not abandon their inner coherence. This self-loyalty is felt more than seen. People sense that the INFJ is whole, even when evolving. And wholeness, especially when paired with empathy and restraint, is one of the most powerful forms of attraction there is.